5, 4, 3. Welcome to A Nice Place to Brew. I'm Jason.
And I'm George. I love it.
Who? And Polly is with us. Welcome to our Thursday night show. Today is June 18th. We do our webcast every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Check us out on our YouTube channel. We have a website, www.aniceplacetobrew. We have a podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcast from. We have social media links. Check us out there, and I think I covered everything.
I think you did.
What's going on, boys?
That's doing some research, and so we actually have a topic for tonight.
Yes. Yeah, you want to introduce said topic?
Well, we talked about it briefly last time, but we were kicking around different advanced brewing techniques. Yes. And one of the ones that came up towards the end was fermentation under pressure. Something that Jason and I have never done before. Polly, I'm not sure about you. And okay, so we were getting towards the end. Jason needed a taco or whatever, so we broke for the night and decided that we'd start off tonight with I don't know what you got to eat, but tacos are good, So,
I'll never say no to a taco.
I know, right? I mean, who would?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, where was I? Oh, right. So we're going to start off tonight talking about fermentation under pressure.
Good deal. Well, before we get into that, what are you guys drinking tonight?
I am drinking the Double Dank Punk from Blue Island.
Nice.
What about yourself, Jason? Oh, sorry, Polly. Go ahead.
I was in my fridge today, and I'm looking. I got all these bombers. I'm like, these are getting kind of old. I don't want them to go bad on me, so I got to start drinking them tonight. So tonight's gonna be bomber night sitting at my house.
There we go. Cheers. Cheers. All right, back to a recurring beer that we've seen in multiple episodes of the past. Our friends over at Hop Butcher for the World. This is Megabyte. This, I believe, is the last of what was a pretty sizable volume of Hop Butchers that I had here at the house for quite a while. Right. I think I'm cleared out now. I think.
All right. Me, I'm going with the Das Yummy. It's the last one I have of this, which is the ginger apricot pie style with the ginger, cinnamon, vanilla, lactose, and apricot in a Berliner Weiss sourish beer.
All right.
So, yeah, last one I have, and I might have to pick up some more from that brewery. This one has been quite tasty, as the name implies.
Cool.
So, hey, before we get started, I wanted to hit on something. I realized that we're not going to be doing a live stream this weekend, and this weekend on Saturday is June 20th, which is the summer solstice. Otherwise known as the longest day. And longtime listeners of the podcast will know that Jason and I tend to make mention of the longest day each year as far as its reference to the Alzheimer's Association and supporting that cause. So there's going to be a number of different things going on for the longest day, people doing, marathons and binges, and I think there's one or two like video game let's play marathon type things happening that you can donate to help that cause. Affects a ton of people, and if you are so inclined, definitely contribute to that if you can.
Well said. Well said. Before we close up tonight, let's tell our go-to longest day story, because it goes back to the early days of us home brewing, and it's one that it's a story I enjoy telling. So
yeah, sure, we can do that.
We can dive back to that. All right, cool. I am a little stuck in trying to send our social media links here. So, do we want to cover anything else before we get into the meat of today's discussion?
No, I don't think
Jason,
so.
I got something I want to tell Jason.
Oh, go ahead, Polly.
Yeah.
City's Lager from On Tour. It's a Mexican lager. I just got it last night. You might like it. I'm not a Mexican lager fan. I drank about 4 of them last night.
All right. Good deal.
All right.
So, I mean, I know you're a fan of those. It's funny. I had Brian get me some. He gets a 12-pack. I look at him. Oh no, it's a Mexican lager.
Well, I guess
actually the show that's on there was a fish show that I've been to before, and I was a little excited about that one too. I don't know if I already told you this. On every can of like the major labels for On Tour, there's like a grid system, and there's a little circle. Up in that circle is a 6 digits. It's a concert date for what that song's name. That's most of these beers are named after a song. Well, that's the show that the owner's favorite song is played, or favorite rendition of that song is played, at each one.
wow.
So
That's
kinda fun
so
every
they tagged the beer with the
okay.
concert date. So that's interesting. Yeah.
So,
Wait,
okay, actually, I
tag the
wish I could
beer
show you.
with their concert date?
Okay,
So
well, you look
give
at
an
the
example
grid
here.
system.
Yeah.
I don't see if you can see it. Let me see if you can see it through my phone. All right, you see how you get the yellow and you got all those lines and whatnot. Looks like a grid system.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, this one right here, there's that little dot, and that date is something from '73, and this is named after a Grateful Dead tune. What is it? The Wheel. And so it goes even further. This grid is a map of the city that they were playing in, and that dot is the venue on the map.
Huh.
It's a little Easter egg that the owner of On Tour has been doing with all of his beers.
All right. Little known facts.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Every time I see that, the first thing I do is I look for it whenever a new beer comes out.
Okay.
And I look at the date and if I've been to that show or not. It's a fun game for me being the hippie deadhead that I am.
Sure. Every group needs one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But we have thousands and thousands of them, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess before we hit the main topic here, I had my first in-person homebrew club meeting in 6 months. With the Culpeper Brewing Society. We got together, had some really good beers, and kind of goes to show what I've been talking about with what we talked a little bit about last time and what we talked about before, is that brewing is as complicated as you want to make it, because we had guys bring full extract beers, mini mash beers, brew in a bag beers, mash tun driven beers with kegging, mash tun driven beers with bottle conditioning. So pretty much running the gamut of different ways to produce beer. And each one of them was a solid offering, and really, really fun to drink, really good to talk to those guys about how they do what they do. So, like we say, it's as complicated as you want it to be, and no matter how complicated you want to make it, you can still produce really good product. And they definitely did.
Oh, yeah. One little side note, I got to congratulate you, Jason, or George, with getting your beer on over at that brewery. Is it on yet?
They're working on it. Should be on by the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're dropping by there tomorrow, so I'll see if it's on yet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know that feeling, and it's very awesome to be able to have that.
You both do, man. I feel singled out now. I'm the one brewer on this webcast who doesn't have a commercially available beer, or at least at one point a commercially available beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about fermenting under pressure.
Yes.
Okay. There is a recurring point that I think is going to continue to come up throughout this topic today, and I think it's important to get this definition out there before we get into the rest of the topic, and that's the topic of spunding.
Yes.
And I assume that
valve.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine both of you, when you were researching fermenting under pressure, that was a recurring point that was coming up. So for the I want to find a good. I'm not going to look for Urban Dictionary to give a definition. of
No,
spunding.
I don't know what it would
come
be.
on,
No, I don't
but-
need. That sounds
It's not-
Come on.
I don't want to know.
Well, while you look up a picture of it, basically at a root level, it's a pressure relief valve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
and usually it's adjustable, and then so it allows you to ferment under different pressures. So depending on whether or not you hit it with CO2 to start with, or if you just allow the CO2 from the yeast to come out of the liquid and pressurize the container, once it gets up to a certain pressure, it will blow off essentially and release the excess pressure into
Right.
the atmosphere. Yeah, so that's what spunding valve is. So
Right.
I saw a couple different examples of it as I was looking it up. Are you pulling one up?
I am. To spund is the English translation for, or I should say, is in German is bung, and we all know what bung is. It's just that little pressure
It's also-
cap that you put on top of a carboy before you start fermenting.
And something else you shouldn't look up on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. That should be the definition of tonight's episode. Bung meaning to close up or seal. Spunding in brewing refers to the act of closing off a vessel containing beer or wort and allowing pressure to build inside the liquid. This is useful in the natural carbonation of a beverage such as beer. The spunding valve is a device consisting basically of a pressure gauge to show vessel pressure and in some way to release unwanted excess pressure from that vessel.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's really just maintaining pressure in a fermenting vessel the same way you would a keg.
Right. And so what that definition doesn't say is most of the time a spunding valve is automatic. It's you don't have to manually intervene and relieve pressure, So yeah, most of the time they're automatic.
Yeah, once the pressure builds up to that, it'll just bleed off till it gets down to that pressure and bring it up.
Right.
It's kind of like how a pump switch works on a plumbing system.
Right.
Well pumps. So yeah, once that gauge gets to a certain pressure, it'll close up and let you build back up. See, that was my biggest concern about it because I remember how are you venting this off at the same time? You're gonna blow a keg up or something.
Yeah.
Like that. That was my biggest concern until I started actually doing research on it. I'm like, and then when I found out how quickly you can lager a beer, I'm really interested now.
Yeah, really interesting. So Jason, I found one and I hit share screen if you want to add it to the stream there.
Here it is.
That's what a spunding valve looks like.
Right.
So you can see that there's a pressure gauge built onto it, and then you have your ball lock, and then over here is a dial that you can twist, and you can adjust what the blow-off pressure would be.
Okay, so this is your blow off area right here. Okay, so it's
they blow off here.
So it's basically a resistor, so to speak, and depending on how much pressure you're releasing, whatever is not there is just still in the vessel. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
And you send the pressure in from the other, from the opposite side.
Well, no, typically. So like this connects to your gas disconnect, and then the way you build pressure is through fermentation. So you use something like this instead of an airlock that allows the CO2 to release through.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I had that backwards in my head.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So the CO2 builds the yeast generates CO2, which generates CO2 pressure.
Yeah. Right.
And then, Bob's your uncle, you get too much pressure and it gets released.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, and then SS Brewtech obviously has a much more fancy one because they have a much more fancy everything.
That was awesome. I actually watched that one. That was cool.
I did too. And but
I can't get off of Urban Dictionary. I went from spunding to sounding. Oh boy, I don't know if I want to look up that.
Yeah, so
okay.
But yeah, so some of the benefits of it. Do you want to run some of them down?
Well, it can help in dry hopping. That's one example.
Fucking,
Another thing is, but supposedly it's supposed to cut a lot of the timing down from your brew day to being ready in a glass. And that
Right.
makes perfect sense because you're fermenting and carbonating essentially at the same time.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, you're essentially bottle conditioning inside your fermenter,
exactly.
sort of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, yeah, you would not cold crash in this. Am I right?
you would not.
Yes, you couldn't because all that yeast would die out.
Well, I mean, once you're done fermenting, you could cold crash and then transfer it into another vessel.
Would you lose the carbonation by doing that?
No,
No.
you might
Yeah, you
lose
not
probably.
like a
Yeah.
little
necessarily.
bit.
Not if you do it right. Not if you do it right. I mean, you can
Yeah.
just pressurize me with it.
Yeah, you might have to add some back, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might
Yeah.
have to recarbon a little bit, but still, I mean, if you keep it a closed system and you have pressure in the other keg, it's essentially just like if you're filling a keg up a brine tank. It's like
Right.
you have that pressurized fill, and then you're releasing that, and it's getting pushed at the same time. And
Well, and that's one of the things that was really intriguing about this is once you rack over into the vessel like this, you ferment and you pressurize, and then they make these things called unitanks, which is what like kind of like a bright tank, to where after you're done fermenting and pressurizing, you can serve right out of that tank. The downside to that is you need a space big enough that you can chill that tank down to a serving pressure. But I've also seen some slightly more MacGyver ways of doing it, of actually doing it inside of a corny keg. And
Yes.
so you use a blow off like I showed before on the gas side of a corny keg. You do the fermentation in there, and then you get a beer line, two beer line disconnects, and you transfer from one keg to another. And then and like Polly said, as a completely closed system, so you hit the new keg with CO2. And then you transfer over into there, and then you just go from there. You pressurize the new keg, and you go from there. One of the things I noticed when people were doing the fermentation under pressure inside of a corny keg is they had either cut off the bottom of their dip tube, or they were using a floating dip tube, because you're going to create a lot of yeast trube at the bottom that you don't want to transfer over to the new keg.
all right, one silly question with like IPAs. So, do you just, if you're gonna dry hop it, you just pop the lid again and then just drop the hops in there, like in a hop cone or a hop spider or something like that? That was one question I had.
Yeah.
I didn't look that.
That's a good
I
one.
didn't look at
Yeah, I gotta search around for that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Well, but
we can talk
one
about
of
this
the
later.
points here, and I'm looking at because there's an article from Brewlosophy on this topic, and it dates back to 2015, and they do talk about a theoretical advantage being due to a closed fermentation system, the aroma compounds remain in the beer and aren't blown off. So that's calling pretty specifically to dry hopping. So there are advantages for dry hopping to doing this.
Or making dry hopping unnecessary. Because if you have more of that hop character, I mean, part of the reason you're dry hopping is because that hop character is lost during the fermentation process. So
That's true.
if maybe you don't have to dry hop as much with a system like this.
That's actually a good point.
That is a very good point. Yeah.
All right. No,
Yeah,
I guess
'cause-
we have to start playing with the system now too.
Because one of the things that the videos and research that I saw mentioned was that fermenting under pressure is become really popular for like New England's and things, and very hop forward type beers. Like you wouldn't use it as much for the malt forward beers. That it's really good at preserving and drawing out that hop character in the beer. So.
What's going on, Eric? Thanks for joining us again. Cheers.
Did Eric make
Oh,
a?
hi, Eric.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric. Yeah.
The George, with that unitake that you were talking about. So does it have like a way to yeast off? Does it have a yeast off racking can on the bottom of it, so you can at least yeast off and still serve underneath there?
Yeah, so the SS Brewtech actually had a conical.
Yeah.
It was very much like a commercial conical where it
Yeah,
had.
I saw that one.
Yeah, so that had a yeast port at the bottom, and then a racking port, just like a commercial one would. But the other one I saw, crap, what was that thing called? Firmzilla?
Was that the plastic one?
Yeah.
I think we probably both watched the same video now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, we may have. It was a really good one. Those guys did a good
was.
job of talking about that. Let's see. Yep, here it is. Let me see if I can get it blown up here. Yep, and Jason, I'm going to share this again. So if you can see that, that is the Firmzilla.
Yeah,
And it
I
has
think that
a
was
nice,
the same one that I saw too. Yeah,
nice
that just
big
looks
collection.
Like a glorified. Yeah, yep. That looks just like the firm fast that they had for a while. It was just like that, but it hung on a wall and it looked like a big giant hot air balloon.
Right.
I think it was called the firm fast. So,
Well,
those
there's
things are
that,
actually
and
pretty cool.
Yeah, and it looks a little bit like the oh crap, what's that other one? The fast ferment, except for it has a much bigger collection thing at the bottom. But one of the one of the things that you can get for the Firmzilla, let me see if I can find an example of this. Insulating jacket, pet, sponging valve. There's one. It'd help if I had pictures. Nope. Yeah, well, but one of the things you can get is a different cap for it that actually has disconnects off the top here. This is just a standard fermentation vessel, but you can get a different cap that has actual the ball lock disconnects that our kegs do, and to be able to do fermentation under pressure. The posts, yeah. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. Jason, I think you're going to have to click on that example again to get it to clear. You clicked on an example comment, and it's showing up on the StreamYard.
Example comment.
You don't see live viewer comments show up?
Yeah, I do.
Right? Yeah.
But
if you go to live comments, there's. Do you see the? Oh. There it goes. You got it.
It's gone.
All right.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Technical difficulties. All right.
Clicking everywhere and just finally landed on that.
But yeah, so but the Firmzilla is a uni tank. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do something real professional, and I'm gonna take my shirt off.
Okay. Jason is trying different.
Shirt off. What
the
hell's going on here?
This is a totally different show now.
Jason stripping?
Jason is going after a different audience, and Jason's going after a different audience entirely.
Bet you didn't know you were getting a strip show here on the webcast.
Wow, I should have got a beer right then and
there. You never know what you're gonna find. That's why I tune in every week.
Every week, yeah. Man, if we were monetized, I'd be like super chats for more clothes, you know. Oh man,
that thing was being highlighted on the screen like it was like the sun. It was really distracting. So.
Oh, that's funny. Should
have done that when we were off air, but no, I'm professional. I'm taking my clothes off in the middle of a web class.
It's more fun this way. Yeah. But yeah,
Paulie, have you done this before? Fermenting under pressure?
Pressure fermenting?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. And, it's funny because like right before the shutdown happened at Brewing Grow, I had a few customers asking me about it.
Really?
And that piqued my interest. So I started thinking, and I remember asking a few questions, and I was discouraged by some of the answers that I got. And after, talking to George, was it Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever I talked to George earlier this week, I did a little bit more research, and you know what? If some of these time savers are there, like exactly, they said what? You could have a lager done in like 4 weeks, like a week and a half of lagering alone.
Yeah.
Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'll do that.
and you can cut off like 40 to 50% of your fermentation times, using a system like this, from what I understand, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what I don't quite understand is with an under pressure system like this is, I guess maybe you'd hook up a picnic tap to get a sample to be able to check and see if it's done fermenting. Like, how would you get a sample to know if it's done fermenting?
Ooh, that is a really good question.
That'd be the only way you can get a sample, and then you would have to degas it so you can get a proper reading out of it too. Because once it's got carbonation,
right, so you'd have to get a little bit out, let it degas, and then take a reading.
The easy way to degas it, don't you? Easy way to degas a
nope.
beer. You take a little sample and you take an empty cup back and forth 10 times, and that'll get all the gas out of it. That's when I was interning at Flossmoor. That's how we would check final gravity sometimes. Actually, that's how we checked a lot of gravities. Even when it was during fermentation, we would do that to get all the gas out.
Okay.
And then that was the way I learned, and I see all these homebrewers doing this, and I'm just like, can't bitch, because everybody does their own thing. So yeah, even when I do my own personal readings at my house, I degas everything because that's just the way I was taught. So
yeah, I mean, degassing shows up in a lot of areas of beverage making. It's an every batch deal when you make wine and also mead, because any of that carbonation that's left over is just nastiness. So. And honestly, you can use that same method, and I'm veering away from the topic a little bit, but you can apply those same techniques to aerating your wort before fermentation. And when we talk about time savers, aerating your wort is another one of those. Because if you want a faster, more healthy fermentation, aerate your wort. I learned that the hard way. So you can you can either get a drill bit addition and spin your liquid around until you get a real thick bunch of bubbles, or you can do something like what Paulie was just talking about transferring from vessel to vessel. It's going to have the same effect because that liquid is constantly in motion and releasing all that pressure in the process.
Or injecting O2 into the liquid as you're transferring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Once I started doing that, that's the easiest way to do it. You just dip that thing in there, you let it go for a few minutes, you do something else, come back, and pop, and you're done.
Yeah.
Right.
We should talk a little bit about off flavors too. And that's one of the biggest selling points of aerating your wort is reduced risk of off flavors with the fermentation, because you have more oxygen, which your yeast needs to ferment in a healthy way. So healthy yeast means less off flavors. There's no point in beating that any further. But I think there's something to be said also as far as the fermenting under pressure about. I just lost my train of thought for a second. About brewing off flavors and what kind of risk, what kind of increased or decreased risk of off flavors that you have by doing this.
Well, I mean, considering it's a closed system, after you especially if you do like transfer from keg to keg or use it as a uni tank, that's a completely closed system. So your chances of encountering any kind of contamination are reduced greatly.
Lower ester production, that's written down here. So that goes right to what you're saying about a closed system.
Yeah, but it also goes right to what I'm saying about this is not ideal for every style of beer. Like a Belgian and certain German styles depend on ester production to get the right flavors.
True.
And fermenting under pressure will inhibit that.
You're not going to get those fruity or banana elements that are characteristic of some of those. Yeah, that's
At least
definitely
not
true.
as much. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it definitely depends on those ester productions.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
You type in here ideal styles.
The ones that the guy talked about in the video were lagers and hop forward, like New England and West Coast IPA, things like that.
The lagers does make sense.
Right.
You're not going to want to pull a lot of esters out of that for sure.
Right. And then the hop forward ones, like your New Englands and your West Coast, the hops tend to overwhelm esters in the flavor profile.
Okay. All right. My brain's still kind of coming around on that point about. You made the point about the late hop additions that are largely lost during fermentation, and that becomes the reason for dry hopping.
Yes.
I guess I would have to walk through this myself just to see what a difference that makes for retaining those aroma hop characters.
Yeah.
Which just means
agree.
I'm giving myself a project here.
I say,
same.
Jason, this should be a fun project for the two of us. We should do this together.
I think we totally should. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the more we're talking about this and the more I'm seeing here, the more this makes sense. I mean,
And
I'm going to have to go to Brew and Grow to get a pressure valve, which is going to cost
I was
me
gonna
how
say,
much?
$30 on more beer.
I don't even know if we have those. You're going to probably have to get those somewhere else.
Okay.
I'll have to look
All
up
right.
for the
Well, it was
spindle valve.
it
I
was
don't think
like-
we have those.
It was
Okay.
like $30 on more beer, if that helps.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well,
I
30
could always
bucks
check
to.
the other home. I could always check the other home brewer store. I got to go there for hops for this club competition anyway. So
Okay.
let Brad know if he
Yeah.
one of those. So
Okay. All right.
Did you
Well,
get
and
in on that, Jason?
No, not right now. I'm not. Not ruling it out, but not in yet.
Well, the assignments have already been given, so that's why.
Oh,
I was asking.
I guess I'm out then. Oh boy.
Yeah, you're right. I got speaking of, I got Triumph hops. That could be a whole different subject. All these new hops coming out. I was doing a bunch of research on that. But okay,
Triumph hops?
Yeah, Triumph. They're American Noble hop. It's a crossbreed between Hallertau and two other Noble hops that I heard. And so they're like 9.9 to 12% alpha acid. So
This sounds right up George's alley.
yeah, a little bit. I said, but in my crazy brain was like Triumph, the insult comic hop.
I was already going to name the beer after a Triumph song. So
Okay, yeah, that was the other place my brain went was but Triumph is an inferior version of Rush.
oh,
Is Triumph a band? I know Triumph, the
Triumph is
insult comic.
absolutely a band. Yeah, Triumph is absolutely a band. Yeah, and a lot of people compare
like
him to
an idiot.
Rush, and no,
It's like, and I'm fairly
Canadian?
close to Prague. How did this blow past me? I guess I was taking my shirt off in the process.
it was distracting, Jason. But I mean, if you want to try this out at your house, as far as I can tell, the only things you need are 2 corny kegs, a sponging valve, and some
Modified
sort
dip
of
tube.
like modified dip tube. Yeah, that's all you need. And Eric, you're absolutely right. Rush does rule.
he's a big Rush fan.
No, I'll back that up too. No, Rush is awesome. All right, Paulie. I think we got a project, you and me.
All right, let's do this. Side by side, we'll do a pressure fermentation, one traditional and one pressure.
All right.
10 gallons, 5 gallons
Now,
each.
5. I'm only set up for
Nah.
5. So
We could. I'll talk. I can. We talk, Mike. And we can do it at the store. We are open now.
Now
Yes,
I'm
that is
wondering,
true. Yeah.
is there a fermentation under pressure beersmith profile?
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's actually a good question.
I'll be really
Fermentation.
impressed if it does. I don't think it does though.
Yeah, I know. I
No,
mean,
it
they
doesn't
didn't
look
have
like
no
it.
chill on there when I looked, but I use a mobile app, so
Right. No, I got the full thing, but looking at it, no, I don't see it. So
Yeah,
you'd
I didn't think so.
probably still use ale single stage. Would you think?
it would still be
Yeah.
a single stage fermentation.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
mean you're not transferring to secondary.
Yeah. So, and like I said, the only other thing you'll need is some sort of tap to be able to every once in a while tap off and just see how your fermentation is going.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of
That's
using a goddamn serving line, really.
right. Yeah. I mean, that's no big deal at all. Yeah, I think I need to try this too.
Yeah.
All right, future episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we will absolutely do an aftermath episode. No question about it.
Oh yeah. So we need a hop forward or lager beer and a couple okay. So is this hey, I got an idea. Is this a dueling brew day thing?
What, the two of us against you?
Yeah, well, not like verses or anything, but we make the same stuff and send it to each other, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Uh-huh.
For sure. If
Uh-huh.
we
Yeah.
go through this, especially if Jason and I do a side by side with under pressure and traditional fermentation, that
Yeah.
would be fun.
Oh wow. That'd be really interesting. Okay.
Because I mean, even if
Yeah.
I
All
bring
right.
my system off of my house, I could do 10 gallons in my house. It just has to be. It can't. My 10-gallon cooler, I can't fit more than 23 pounds of grain in there with water. So
Okay.
Okay, so but the only other thing is if we are going to use a corny keg, one thing I noticed is you still have to give a little bit of headspace. So you can't make a full 5-gallon batch.
that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll do 4.
Yeah. Or 4.5. Just
So it's got to be
just
like
enough to leave a little bit of
4.5.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Most of my batches
Yeah.
are low on volume anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because you don't want the little dip tube for the CO2 to be submerged either. So
Right. All right, we got a
Hi,
project.
George.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm in
I
for
think I'm feeling good about the idea of doing a lager for this. I'm just saying.
lager.
I'm just trying to think what that one would be.
Huh.
How about a German style lager?
Oktoberfest.
German style.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like it's still. I mean, I feel like the prime time for making an Oktoberfest is still. I was about to say 2 months away, but crap. I mean, we're going to be in August in a month and a half. So an Oktoberfest is not out of the question at all.
And it's not, but remember that theoretically it's going to lager a hell of a lot faster.
True.
It could be ready mid-August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could be like everybody else, all these other big breweries that have our Oktoberfest out in August. Not August 1st, though.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've told this story on the show before because, I mean, Sam Adams Oktoberfest was one of my first craft beer loves. And every year its release date gets pushed earlier and earlier. Like, I used to remember it was always like its release date would be right around my birthday, which is August 28th. Don't stalk me. But that's what it is. Yeah, like it's now available in very early August. So,
Well, you want to hear something funny? I saw an ad earlier this week on Facebook. Founders is already advertising their Oktoberfest. It ain't getting released till August, but they're already advertising for it.
like
It's the
coming
first time they're
soon.
actually yeah, well, I guess it's the first time Founders is actually releasing their Oktoberfest in like production.
Okay.
Because I guess our Oktoberfest were always tap room only beers. You'd have to go to one of the founders' tap rooms to get it.
Okay. All right. No, I mean, it's certainly worth promoting. Yeah, they're getting
So
a big
that's
jump start on it for sure. All right.
I mean, they're already advertising for Christ's sake,
Yeah.
in mid-June.
All right. How do you guys feel about it? Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest, I can do that.
I'm down.
So yeah, because Eric's
I'm
recommending a
open-minded.
Baltic Porter, but Eric, I think that's too malt forward for to be good for this kind of thing.
I like where you're going though, Eric, because I've had temptation to make a Baltic Porter for quite some time. I'm a little gun shy about making 5 gallons of a style that I'm not all that close to. I feel like that's a lot to commit to. So, but I do feel like that's a project, but maybe not for this.
Right. Agreed. So just to try it out, I think for this, instead of cutting a dip tube, I think I'm going to go the floating dip tube route.
You're going to buy a floating dip tube? Okay.
I've been wanting to get one anyway with all these like New Englands that I make and whatnot. I mean, it's just amazing. I don't have to worry. As many times as I've had to unclog dip tubes, unclog posts in the middle of serving beer. No, that dip tubes that have been sent for.
Yeah. Yeah, we watched a video. I think was it the last show, George, of the floating dip tube, and that thing is great. Like I'm surprised that that's not a mainstay among homebrew setups.
I found out about it from Kevin.
What's that?
I found out from Kevin Promise, our club president. That's how I found out about it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Come on back, George.
Come on, George.
Come on back. Your internet. Hey.
Oh, here it comes.
Your internet hates you. And oh, look how slow it is now. Oh, man, this is not good.
This is like the one time I had Dave on and I had to cut out because I couldn't even listen to it. I should just. Yeah. I couldn't even watch it on YouTube and be on the other end and make smart ass comments throughout. And actually, Jason, On Tour is going to be open this week. We should make if you got a chance on a weekend, we should make a trip up there and go say hi.
Sure,
brewery.
I'd be happy to.
They're allowed outside heatings.
Yeah,
we can go to District Brew Yards and Goose Island and everything right around that area all at the same time.
That is true. Yeah, I've never visited breweries in that area, so that would be a first for me. No, I think that's a great idea.
Last year I went because On Tour gave a donation, and then I heard about the District Brew Yards, and then I just walked in there. I was like, I love this place. This is my favorite place around right now.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with a bartender at all. I just got to watch my tab as I'm pouring beers.
Hey, George.
Hey, I'm going to try this. See if this works.
Eric wants to know if you're on now. Eric wants to know if you're on dial-up.
Ha! Sometimes it feels like it, man. Let me tell you.
Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, I think part of the thing is the floating dip tubes aren't as well known as some other things. Plus, I think the other part of it is it's $30 for a floating dip tube and free for some tin snips on the bottom of your gas dip tube.
It's a little bit more than just tin snips on the bottom of your stainless tube.
Okay, well,
you need a bandsaw or something like that.
Okay, well, sorry.
I got some tin snips here at the house. I would give it a shot.
Well, Paulie's probably right. If you use tin snips, you probably would bend in the metal. Whereas if you're using like a bandsaw or rotating saw or something like that, you get a cleaner cut.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of
I fucked up some tubing with tin snips. Don't worry about that. That's
Speaking from experience. Okay, no, that's fair.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So
Hey, kitty.
I was going to ask if you went to another room, George, but no, you're in the same spot, aren't you?
Same spot. Yeah. So, the other thing I did this weekend, I built that Flowmaster line cleaning apparatus.
The same one I have?
The same one you have. Took a Flowmaster. I didn't even bother with that little brass connector.
Okay.
Just taped the crap out of the Flowmaster threads and twisted that on there, and it works great.
With tape?
With not with plumber's tape, you know. Yeah.
Okay, next time you do that, use Blue Monster. Don't use that cheap white stuff. How about that?
Okay. All right.
I mean, don't laugh at him, Jason. I've done it too, so I can't judge.
George, is that not an awesome way to clean your lines?
Oh, it's incredible. In fact, I'm getting another one because I want to have two. I think like you do, of one with line cleaner, one with water, so I can hit it with line cleaner and then rinse it with water.
Well, you mean sanitizer, right? That's what you should be doing.
Well, or sanitizer, yeah, exactly.
Liquid line cleaner followed by sanitizer. That's totally the way to go.
Yeah, but no, it's awesome because I was still able to pressurize it. So
have we gone through that setup here on the webcast?
A while back we did, yeah. But I mean, you can't ask for much more than $7 for one of those deals and a Firestone post.
You're in and done with this for $20.
Yeah,
start to finish, completely. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like any home brewer who's kegging should have this. I really, truly do.
I would agree. Yeah, and it's so easy to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just speaks the whole MacGyver DIY-ness of this hobby.
Yeah.
So, hey, speaking of MacGyver DIY-ness and following up on the conversation from Monday, I did get to talk with somebody last night that is a longtime Brew-in-a-Bag guy. Because remember we were talking about it, saying, would you see a hit in efficiency or clarity or anything like that? And so because there's also a controversy with Brew-in-a-Bag of do you squeeze the grains or not? Right. And he is of the impression that you pull it out of the pot, you squeeze the crap out, like bear hug the thing and get as much liquid as you can out of it. And then he takes it away. I'm not judging one way or the other. He makes good beer. And then, but he did say that there's a lot of particulates and there's a lot, he uses gelatin in his secondary to really drop everything out at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
he's got ways of compensating for it.
So on that note, I remember I since I catch the Monday ones, I still listen. But one thing I did one time with a Brew-in-a-Bag is I kept maybe another gallon or two less than what you needed off to the side, and I heated that up, and then I just dipped the bag in there and kind of used that to rinse it, and then I dumped that back in, and let that dry, and then dump that back into the wort.
So you're recirculating your Brew-in-a-Bag.
Yeah, you're kind of sparging the Brew-in-a-Bag. Yeah. That's interesting.
You're trying to rinse those grains out as much as possible, not get what's out there. You're trying to rinse whatever's left in there. Like I get the whole squeezing and all that, but you got all those sugars are still stuck in there. You dip that in some water, you rinse that out, and you can get more wort out of that.
Yeah, and I think that's where he's coming to with the I'm going to squeeze it and get all that liquid and all those sugars and everything out. Like I said, I've seen conflicting, that there's some people that live and die by squeezing the bag, and some people are like, do not touch it. If you touch it, you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a critical brewers that you see on the intro. Now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're there. Yeah, it's still the internet.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I've gotten You think people get in political arguments on the internet? I've gotten in more brewing arguments on a homebrew page than I have in anywhere else with people on there. And usually it's because I've had a few, and I'm like, all right, let's have some fun with this guy.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a home brewer related argument on social media.
I've had disagreements and debates, but not arguments, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave it at you. You're right. I never threw my phone to you or anything like that. I mean, but I've had some good conversations with people. Yeah, like a debate. It's like, yeah. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, I agree with your points. He's like, hey, you gave me some good points. All right. Cheers. Have a good night. Talk to you next thread.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
None at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess my whole argument is there's been sometimes like I guess the only time I ever debate people online is when they order stuff online. Like you don't have a local homebrew shop close to you.
I do not.
I keep telling everybody support local homebrew stores, and then halfway through the conversation, I work at one of those local homebrew stores. I'm like, oh, we get what you're getting at. I'm like, if I can't get anything at my store, I'll order it online, just like these hops that I was talking about.
Right.
I can't get them from home. I can't get them from Brew and Grow. I either got to go to my competing homebrew store, or I got to order them online. But I still might go to the competing homebrew store to support him.
Yeah.
Because it's still local.
Well, and Jason and I when I lived down in Chicago, we had our limit, and we would definitely support the homebrew store, definitely get our ingredients from the local homebrew store. But some of our bigger stuff, like I remember when we ordered our 15-gallon pot, the local homebrew store had a significant markup on that.
Oh yeah.
So we ended up ordering that online, but that's just being a smart consumer, and it's just, and even I'm sure, Brando would be like, yeah, no, I get that, come to me for everything else and spend your money here, but that one-off thing, I get it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. I mean, they're in business to make money too, as they should.
Of course.
So,
but they know they're not going to be.
Yeah. I mean, does that mean you're going to be competitive with everything? Not necessarily, and that's a good example of it. So, yeah. I agree, and I think many homebrew supply stores would be understanding with comments like that.
I think so too. Yeah.
How do you think I feel when I walk into Brewworks to get just something small?
Yeah.
Brando sees me, he's like, "What's up?" Like, I'm just here to get these hops. Like,
you're like covering your face. No. I don't. We don't know each other. No.
No, I don't know you.
I'm not with your competition. No.
Oh, even my manager Mike's gone in there a few times and said,
"Oh my god."
Well, because there's things that we don't carry that Brando carries.
Well,
so
I had that.
For sure.
I came into the shop this past weekend, and you guys didn't have what I was looking for. So it does happen. Yeah.
What's up with that, Paulie?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you
come on, man.
For those quick connects.
Yeah.
You were looking over for those quick connects.
George, you would have been furious.
Well, because I didn't have quick disconnects.
Yes. How much have you sold me on those quick disconnects?
It's true.
Yeah,
I have.
Come on.
And that does seem a little silly to not have, but
I'll let Polly defend that.
Yeah, but no, I get it.
We don't have those right now
Uh-huh.
is because when the store downsized, we used to have those, and we used to get those stainless ones from some company overseas.
Right.
And when Brew and Grow went from 7 stores to 3, we lost a lot of those contracts. So that's why we couldn't carry that stuff. And even when Jason left the store the other day, I told Mike about it. He's like, "Yeah, he's already talking about getting on with the owners and figuring out something so we can have more of this stuff because You know how much it broke my heart to tell Jason, "Hey, go to this website." Mike heard it. But yeah, go to this website.
Yeah, he's right. He did.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it, but it's one of those. You know, they got to do what they sell, and like the way Vroom Grow used to work. Like George, you like I'm next. If I can get there on Monday, I'll walk around the store and show you how much it's changed now. Like the ingredients is 100 times different. You're not buying anything by the pound or 5 pounds or 10 pounds. Everything's in bins. And it's all sold by the ounce. So
By the
if you want
ounce?
4 ounces by the ounce. So if you want 4 ounces of black patent, you can buy 4 ounces of black patent and not be stuck with that ounce and stuck in your fucking cabinet.
Yep.
For,
Right.
You know,
Till the
year.
end
That's
of time.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Because right now,
hopefully I can
on
get
most of mine, I have a minimum of a pound that I need to order.
Okay.
Yeah, the way
Yeah.
that Brew and Grow does this is the best. Like I've seen any homebrew supply source do it, like by far. The fact that you have these in bulk containers and you can measure out whatever volume you want is absolutely the best offering out there.
Yeah, there's a place up here near in Manassas called Jay's Home Brewing, and they have a similar thing. They have it by the, by the scoop, basically, that you can get it. My only concern with that, Paulie, is like if someone does want, 55 pounds of something, are they able to take advantage of like a volume discount, or are they still buying it at the per ounce price?
Oh no, yeah, they have a special price for 55-pound bags, don't they?
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Okay,
do.
cool.
If
Well,
you
that's
want,
good. Yeah.
If you want a stack of 2-row, you'll get a deal. Yeah, you will. You'll get a deal on that. But we've had people that come in. I guess one time during the quarantine, we had one guy that wanted a full sack milled, and these poor guys at Bruno had to mill a 50-pound sack. So they sold them by the ounce, just because there's a lot of labor in that, and I get that.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
with me, I'm okay. Okay, you want to mill it? Here's some scissors.
Oh,
Here's some bags.
No, I totally agree with that. Totally.
Yeah.
Like,
I do too.
if you're selling a 55-pound bag and not opening it up, you absolutely have the right to offer them a discount. But to expect that same discount if you're asking the guys to mill all that down, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's a value add thing.
It's absolutely a value add. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Actually, any of our base malt you can buy a sack of. Golden Promise, 2-row, 6-row. If you want some Munich malt, Marisado, you can buy a sack of that.
Can we dwell on that for a second? I'm not sure what is the use of 6-row. Like, where is that used? I've never used it before.
I've only used it once. The only time I ever used it was in. I'm going back to the past few episodes where we were talking about old recipes. I made my Hopweiser, my hoppy lager, and this was like back before I really learned software and whatnot. And what I would do when I'd make my recipes, I'd go on a database and I'd get a majority of what people are using, and then every time I was looking for a lager, a hoppy lager, people used it was 50% 2-row, 50% 6-row. The only time I ever used 6-row was in a lager, so maybe I didn't mash long enough. It might be like Pilsner malt. We need a longer mash. Is it a longer mash or a longer boil for?
Longer boil for Pilsner.
All right. I get mixed up on those two, but yeah, at that time I didn't know that line. Didn't know a little bit, but not what I know now. So I'm kind of curious. I was talking to old buddy the other day, and we were already talking about revisiting that recipe again. Nice for a hoppy lager. Oh God, it'd be good. Not even a Pilsner. But that was the only time I ever used 6-row. So that's the only time I've ever seen it used. Is in some type of German Bavarian application.
I feel like when I put my cream ale recipe together that I made recently, I feel like I was seeing a lot of comparable recipes that had 6-row in it.
That had 6-row? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wonder what it adds to the
Remember
In
the
general,
Kentucky-
6-row barley uses less plump and has a thicker husk. After milling, will have lower extract yields, a higher protein content, and a greater enzyme activity compared to 2-row. Because these characteristics are determined, breeders can manipulate them. In theory, therefore, differences between 2-row and 6-row barley traits can even be diminished. But why? That's weird. Okay. Yeah, 6-row is one of those things that I'm just like, why on earth?
topic for the next episode.
Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I have to do some
I'm in.
research.
I'm in.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we almost sound like we know what we're doing now, you know?
We're figuring it out.
We're figuring it out.
Always
yeah.
getting our footing.
Oh man. But yeah, I'm heading down to Richmond, so I'm gonna hit up the did I take you to Artisan Wine?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
That's where
so
you got your degassing wand.
yes it is. So we're gonna go down there, and then I'm gonna hit up there and get my ingredients for the shandy. But let's kick around some ideas for an Oktoberfest recipe, unless you have one already that you're happy with.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
What's it called?
I could use it.
It's called Main Street Marzen.
2019?
No, the other one.
The other one? Okay. Oh, you have it open.
When I get to work
Yeah.
on Saturday, I could.
It's closed.
I have all kinds of.
Go for it,
good,
George.
Solid recipes.
Oh, I was like, damn, that's involved, but you have all the
Yeah,
actually, why don't you pull it up and share it here so we can see it?
Sure.
While you're doing that, I'm going to show you guys this.
There you go.
Oops.
Oh, hold on. I'm gonna have to turn this.
Do you see that?
No.
Oh, you don't see them? Oh, you put me there. You don't see them? Couple
nap
sleeping
time.
corgis. Nap time corgis.
You put a little ladder under the bed.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that's
Little
adorable.
steps up to the bed. Fred loves to sleep up there, and so
I know she does. Yeah. Every time I'm out there, I'm stealing her bed.
You are. All right. So sorry. I'll switch back to me. So anyway, yeah. Did you want to share that? And where'd Paulie go?
I don't know. I don't think I kicked him out. Did
Okay.
I?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be back.
I don't like how Beersmith has this organized. I don't have a clean way of doing this. Unless... here we go. Here we go. This is okay. This is better.
Okay.
Hey, Paulie, welcome back.
There's Paulie. Hey, buddy.
Oh, sorry. I tried blowing up the recipe and it wouldn't work on my phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can walk through it so you can hear it. But I thought it'd be good to share it with everybody that's watching. So I looked at this originally and said, "Oh crap, this is really involved." But Jason has all of his his
Yeah, my
salt
water
additions in there
addition.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So the ferment.
4 malts, 2 hops, and 1 yeast.
Yeah, so it's not that bad. Yeah.
No.
So for hops, for malts rather, you have just over 6 pounds of Munich. So you're using Munich as your base, huh?
Pull it up.
Munich and two-row. Those
Munich
both
and
make
2-row.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Munich at 6 pounds, just over, might as well be 6 pounds. Pale at 5 pounds, and then 14 ounces of caramel 60 and 4 ounces of carapils as per normal for you.
Yep, exactly. That's everything.
Yeah, and then half an ounce of Hallertau Magnum, good old German noble hop.
Yep.
Although I'm not sure Magnum qualifies. And then what's Hersbrucker?
That's one of the German noble hops too.
No, it is not. Hersbrucker?
It's not?
I don't think it's a noble hop. Might be a German hop.
Is similar to similar to the noble hop varieties with this low humulone level. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. So, but it could act as a replacement for Harlotau middle fruit. So it is similar. Yeah. Okay. So the Harlotau Magnum goes in at 35 minutes left. Hersbrucker at 10 minutes left. And then, okay, so
for a total IBUs of 23 with those 2 small additions.
Yeah, so not much hop. Which is good.
I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, it's a Mars End. That's not a hop forward beer.
So the one alteration that I would suggest is, can we use a wet yeast and do a starter?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the 3470, worked nicely, but if you were to move to a wet yeast, I would recommend just some kind of general German style lager yeast. And there's a couple to choose from. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be done.
Okay. And then you have fermentation. So your end of boil volume is 5.5 gallons. So I think what we might want to do is alter this recipe a little bit to target closer to 4.5.
For the,
like I said, for the headspace in the keg.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Okay.
I guess my one caveat to that is I don't think I wouldn't encourage that to go that much lower, because my volume is always lower than what Beersmith tells me.
Mine's not. I've got it dialed in pretty well. So if it says it's going to have 5.5 at the end, it's most likely going to.
Well, look at you. Look at you.
I'm not saying that to say that. I'm just saying I don't want to dump half a gallon of good work down the drain, All
right. Fair enough. All right. Okay. All right.
But I can make those alterations. That's not a big deal if you want to go with this recipe. Yeah.
No.
I'm going to have to anyway for my equipment.
I'm just making fun of you. Yes. I totally understand.
Yeah. Did you make this with Tony?
No. Okay. So I made the first version of this as is. This was the original recipe. I won a first place award at a homebrew event with this.
Okay.
With this as is. And then I made a altered version of this to make a double batch with Tony. And that version, at least from my end, my half of that recipe got infected.
Ooh,
so
bummer.
Yeah. And in retrospect, I'm 90% sure I know why. And it was entirely my fault. So,
yeah,
shit happens.
Still a bummer. Yeah.
It's absolutely a bummer. Yeah.
I just saw in the brewer you had you/him, so I wasn't sure if you made this with him.
Yeah, that's a carryover from the second recipe.
Right.
No, this one here was all me.
Okay.
Matter of fact, let me just change that. There. All right. That's that. There's my trade secrets, everybody. You want to get rich off my Oktoberfest recipe? All right, well, let's see if we
There you
see if
go.
we
That's
beat you
it
to
right there.
We can beat you to it. Coming soon to a brewery near you.
It is award winning.
It is. It is. I got the award to prove it.
It said it is equivalent to WLP. So White Labs 830 or Y Yeast 2124. I've used the 2124 before.
Okay. Is that just a general lager yeast?
It's Bohemian Lager.
Bohemian.
So German,
okay.
Yeah, German lager.
No, that would work. Yeah, I would trust that to make a Oktoberfest.
Yeah, Fest beer is definitely one of the ones that. What was that?
You know, Oktoberfest is one of my favorite styles of beers, and I've never made one. I think it's kind of funny, to be honest with you.
Well, let's change that.
Yeah, now you have the opportunity.
Well, this year, damn it. That's it. It's on. I'm ready.
All right. So I've already got.
We're giving fuck for his money.
I've already got the one for next weekend dialed in. I know what I'm going to do, but we should plan to do this relatively soon.
Agreed. Do you have the space to make 2 batches back to back?
Yep, because I think
because you're handing a porter over to a certain brewery.
Right, and my my Belgian blonde is I think almost gone. So I'll have an empty Keyser.
All right, we got George Brewing. This is excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
Good deal,
All
man.
right.
All right. Well, we got our projects. Oh, and George, his dial-up is showing once again. Welcome back.
Yeah, I don't know. It just blew up. Yeah.
Now we just lost Polly. Why did we lose Polly? No, Polly is back.
There he is. What was I gonna say? Oh, so next time, what was the topic du jour?
2-row versus 6-row.
That's right, 2-row versus 6-row. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So to recap, the fermenting under pressure. You need a spunding valve, and it's really good for closed system fermentation, which is suppresses esters, but is really good for hop character retention.
Right.
And creating a nice clean beer. You can do it in a unitank, like the Firmzilla or from SS Brewtech, or you can even do it in a corny keg, and be able to transfer from keg to keg and keep it nice and closed and clean.
Yep.
So, good summary.
Very good summary. Well done.
All right.
All right.
So, do we want to circle back to the longest day?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah. So George and I's first experience with the longest day was back in 2015. And George and I, throughout the course of the longest day, made 15 gallons of beer across a 10-gallon all grain brew day. George found time in said 10-gallon brew day to also brew a bunch of, not brew, but grill a bunch of food for a house full of people, including me and my parents. And we capped the day off by making an extract batch. And the theme of the longest day, as George has said during the introduction, is whatever it is that you do it all day, start to finish, no breaks. And it gives everybody just, the viewpoint of what caring for somebody with Alzheimer's is like, which is an all day, every day, no break. It's an unrelenting responsibility. And that's what the longest day is about. It's about replicating that, regardless of what it is that you're doing. And brewing just happened to be ours. And George and I were toast at the end of that second brew day. I mean, just toast.
I think.
What a day that was.
Did you even go home, or did you
went
collapse on the couch? Okay, yeah, I remember
I mean,
that.
I would have been sleeping at your place if I didn't.
Yeah, it was late by the time we were
Yeah, it sure was.
done.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was quite the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, and the longest day is really a great recognition of Alzheimer's caregivers. It's, I mean, it really, I mean, and I think throughout COVID, I think at least many other troubling illnesses have fallen out of focus. And honestly, and for understandable reasons. I mean, COVID is no joke. It's a serious pandemic that's impacting this entire country and all the people at the same time. There's a lot of other debilitating diseases that people are dealing with and their loved ones are dealing with as well. Alzheimer's is one of those, and the caregivers are still caring in the same way that they were before the pandemic, and their efforts are not lost. And I think that's another part of the longest day is recognition of those people and the tremendous efforts they're putting forth.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we have it runs in my wife's family, so we have it hits a little close to home for us. But thanks to everybody for your support. And like I said, if you have the opportunity and the ability, and donate to the cause, that all that money I know goes to research and attempts to find treatments and cures and things like that. So,
well said. Thanks for bringing this up, George.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
All right. We do our webcast every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew. If you want to hear George and I talk even more about homebrew and craft beer related topics, check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all those other podcasting platforms under the name A Nice Place to Brew. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com, and our social media links are under Nice Place to Brew and A Nice Place to Brew. All right. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Great show, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. I will not send us off until Paulie comes back.
Fair enough. Give him a minute.
I'm down to my last sip. Yeah, how's that going down? Is that good?
It is, and I'm missing it. I mean, it's got
really
that. Oh, I'm telling you, it's got that sour flavor. So I know you're not a big fan of that in beer, but it hits you with that like sour note. And then the ginger and the sweetness come in to cover it up right away. So it's kind of like a Sour Patch Kid that way. You get that sour, and then you get the sweetness. Oh man, it is. I like it a lot.
Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah, Well, I don't know when the last time you had a Sour Patch Kid was, but
I mean, that's quite a comparison for flavor in a beer.
It is, and I mean, it's still a Berliner Weiss. It's not nearly as sweet or as sour as a Sour Patch Kid is, but
right,
it has that same kind of effect. So yeah,
I think we lost Paulie for good.
I think we did.
Send us off.
All right.
It takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
And check us out this coming Monday.